Have you ever wondered why certain emotions are better left unsaid? There are things men must keep hidden from their partners, not because of deceit, but because of the wisdom it carries wisdom that could change the course of a relationship. What happens when a man lays bare his deepest wounds in front of the woman he loves? In the name of vulnerability, he might unknowingly weaken his standing and the foundation of their relationship. Could this be the subtle yet powerful key to maintaining respect and harmony? When a man faces his internal struggles, should he share them or keep them hidden? There's a delicate balance between strength and vulnerability. What a man keeps concealed could determine the resilience of his relationship and the admiration of the woman by his side. Today, I want to delve into a topic that has sparked debates, been misinterpreted, and at times dismissed entirely. Yet, it remains absolutely vital for the psychological and emotional well-being of any relationship. A man must always conceal 5 things from a woman. Before we go any further, let's clarify something important. This is not about deception. It's not about hiding the truth or pretending to be someone you're not. This is about wisdom, the kind of wisdom that comes from understanding the dynamics between masculine responsibility and feminine perception. There are simply aspects of a man's life that, if revealed recklessly or without thought, can weaken his own standing, destabilize his relationship, and even cause unnecessary distress for the woman he loves. Imagine this. A man walks through life, carrying burdens that are often too heavy to express. Every hardship, every setback, every silent wound is etched deep into his soul, but he carries them alone. He doesn't have the luxury of crumbling under the weight of these burdens, and he certainly doesn't have the privilege of laying bare his deepest doubts without facing consequences. Think about the impact of a man who lets his struggles dominate his interactions. When he allows his pain and difficulties to show, he weakens the very foundation of his strength. And a woman does not desire to see the full scope of his suffering. She doesn't want to carry the weight of his internal battles. What she longs for is to feel his resilience in the face of it all. She wants to see the strength that comes from him, even when the world feels like it's crashing down. No woman is built to absorb the entirety of a man's inner turmoil. She may love him deeply, she may support him unconditionally, but she is not meant to carry his emotional load on top of her own. When a man pours out his pain carelessly to his woman, when he allows her to take on his emotional chaos, he risks eroding her respect for him. The moment she perceives him as incapable of enduring, something shifts within her. She may still love him, but she will never look at him the same way again. To truly be a man is to walk alone in certain battles, not because he is unloved, not because he lacks support, but because his role demands it. His duty, his responsibility, is to remain steadfast, even when his spirit shakes under the weight of the world. And this is where the true strength lies. When a man continuously seeks emotional refuge in his woman, when he expects her to be his constant support, his admiration in her eyes begins to slip away. Women are nurturing, yes, but they do not want to mother a man. They want a partner, someone who is strong, someone who can hold himself up. When a woman feels like she has to prop him up, her desire for him begins to wane. A man's ability to endure in silence is not a sign of suppression. It is a mark of discipline. It's the kind of discipline that reflects inner strength, and that strength forms the core of his role. This is not just about holding everything inside. It's about choosing to endure with grace and poise, even when life gets tough. As we explore this further, we will see why this silent resilience is such a powerful quality in a man and how it shapes the way he is perceived in his relationship. It is indeed one of the foundations of respect and love in any partnership. Now, let's move forward and take a deeper look at how this concept plays out in real-life relationships and why it is essential for a man to maintain his strength while navigating life's challenges. As we discussed earlier, the balance between strength and vulnerability is crucial in maintaining the respect and admiration in a relationship. Now, Let's explore the difference between sharing wisely and burdening recklessly, a distinction every man must understand. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent can define the trajectory of a relationship. A man must recognize that not all expressions of emotion are equal. There are moments when his words bring clarity, strengthening his connection with his woman, and moments when they inadvertently sow unnecessary distress, weakening it. A woman wants to believe in the strength of her man. She wants to see him as someone who can endure, someone who can rise above the struggles life throws at him. But if he unravels before her at every difficulty, if he lays bare every crack and flaw without restraint, he forces her into a role she never intended to play. Suddenly, she finds herself the one holding the fortress when it should have been him. In today's world, we're constantly told that vulnerability is the key to deeper connection. But unchecked vulnerability leads to dependency, and dependency, in turn, can erode the very foundation of a relationship. A man who becomes emotionally dependent on his woman for stability no longer holds the position of leader in their relationship. He surrenders the very essence of what makes him attractive, his ability to face the storm, to remain unshaken by adversity. A man's struggles are his to conquer, and while seeking counsel from mentors or confiding in trusted friends is important, placing the weight of those struggles entirely on the woman he loves is a mistake. She may tell him she wants full transparency, but what she truly desires is reassurance. She does not need to know the depths of his despair. She needs to feel that he can rise from it. A woman desires a man who can stand firm, who remains unwavering even when the world seems bent on breaking him. But when he exposes too much of his internal chaos, he diminishes that image of strength. She may sympathize, but she will no longer feel the same unshakable pull toward him. Instead, she will start to see him as fragile, as someone who needs saving, rather than the person who offers her safety. Once that perception shifts, it becomes incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to reclaim. A man who constantly seeks validation for his pain loses sight of what true strength is. Strength is not the absence of struggle, rather, it is the refusal to be consumed by it. A man who carries his burdens with quiet resolve radiates a power that words cannot replicate. His presence alone demands respect. A woman may never fully understand the extent of his battles, but she feels the force of his determination. To reveal everything is to give away the very thing that makes a man compelling, his ability to navigate chaos without being consumed by it. A woman may love deeply, but she is not built to be the foundation of a man's emotional survival. When he leans too heavily on her for that, he forces her into a position that erodes the attraction she feels. She may still care for him, but the fire she once had in her eyes for him may begin to fade. Therefore, a man must be cautious with his emotional transparency. The world will tell him to be fully open, but reality does not reward reckless exposure. There is a time to share, and there is a time to endure in silence. There is a way to confide in his woman without seeking rescue. A man who understands the timing of his vulnerability is a man who truly understands strength. As we continue, let's take a closer look at the practical implications of this concept in relationships and explore how a man can balance being strong while still being emotionally available without compromising his role. As we've already explored, a man's strength lies not only in his ability to endure, but also in his ability to keep his struggles to himself, presenting the world with a quiet strength that commands respect. Now let's dive deeper into why this silent resilience is so crucial in a relationship and what happens when a man forgets this wisdom. When a man manages to navigate his challenges without collapsing under their weight, he wields a power that most people never truly understand. He becomes the man a woman can trust, not just with her heart, but with her faith in his leadership. The weakness that so many are drawn to exposing in the name of honesty does not attract, it repels. There is a fine line between honest expression and emotional dependence. A man who collapses under the weight of his struggles in front of his woman is not demonstrating courage. Instead, he is dismantling the very structure of security she longs for. If he cannot withstand himself, how can he expect her to see him as someone who can withstand the world? At her core, a woman is drawn to stability, to certainty, to the quiet confidence of a man who can weather any storm. When a man floods her with every fear, every hesitation, he forces her into a role that she was never meant to bear. She may listen, she may console, but deep down, something shifts. A primal part of her begins to doubt, and once doubt takes root, admiration begins to fade. A man does not hide his struggles out of dishonesty. No, he conceals them out of wisdom. He understands that his role is not to seek emotional refuge, but to be the rock upon which his woman can lean. He may feel the weight of the world pressing down on him, but he does not crumble before her. He stands tall, no matter the cost, because he knows that the moment he falls apart in front of her, something irreparable fractures between them. He may bleed in battle, but he does not bring that blood home. He may fight demons in the dark, but he does not let them roam freely within his relationship. He understands that to be a man is to carry burdens without making them another's to bear. The world does not grant sympathy to men who falter, and neither does the subconscious mind of a woman who once saw him as unshakable. A man does not seek comfort in exposing his wounds. He seeks strength in overcoming them. He may feel broken, but he does not showcase that brokenness as a plea for reassurance. He repairs himself in silence, and when he speaks with certainty, not despair. He may suffer, but he does not allow that suffering to redefine him. A woman's love is deep, but it is not unconditional in the way fairy tales might suggest. It is built on admiration, on respect, and on the unwavering belief that the man she stands beside is strong enough to carry the weight of his own battles. The moment he ceases to be that man, the foundation of their connection begins to erode. No man will walk this life without hardship. No man will escape the burden of his own mind. But only the wise man understands that his struggle is his own to conquer. He does not offload it onto the woman who looks to him for stability. He does not turn her into the pillar when he was meant to be the foundation. He stands always. As we continue to explore this theme of strength and vulnerability, let's look deeper into how a man's ability to maintain his inner fortitude shapes the foundation of his relationship, and why it is essential for both his self-respect and the respect of his partner. As we've seen, a man's strength lies not only in his ability to endure, but also in his ability to maintain a sense of mystery, keeping some parts of himself just out of reach. Now, let's dive into why mystery is not only a powerful tool for attraction, but also essential for preserving the intrigue and respect in a relationship. The moment a man reveals everything, he loses far more than he ever anticipated. A man must understand that not every part of him should be laid bare for the world to see. The moment he exposes his entire soul, he diminishes an essential part of himself. Mystery is not about deception, it is power. It is that unspoken force that draws people in, the silent command that holds attention, the undeniable presence of something deeper beneath the surface. A man who reveals too much of his inner world too soon gives away his most valuable asset, the sense that there is more to him than what meets the eye. A woman is inherently drawn to the unknown, to the layers yet to be uncovered, to the silent depths of a man who cannot be fully grasped in a single moment. It's this allure of the unexplored that keeps her coming back for more. When a man exposes everything he thinks, everything he feels, every fleeting thought that passes through his mind without hesitation, he loses the very tension that keeps attraction alive. Attraction thrives on mystery, on the unknown, on the elements of a person that remain hidden, waiting to be discovered. Predictability is death to desire. The more readily available a man's thoughts are, the less valuable they become. The moment he becomes an open book, he stops being a story worth reading. A man who constantly reveals his deepest thoughts without discretion weakens his presence. Mystery compels attention, it forces curiosity, and it demands respect. A man who is too eager to be understood, who feels the need to explain himself at every turn, who rushes to justify his every action, robs himself of the very thing that makes him compelling. The more he chases full disclosure, the less intrigue he commands. A woman desires connection, yes, but she does not desire complete exposure. She may say she wants to know everything, but the moment a man hands her his entire inner world without reservation, he unwittingly robs her of the very thing that fuels passion, the slow unraveling of the unknown. There is no excitement in full disclosure, no electricity in what is too easily given. A man must let himself be discovered, piece by piece, not thrown open like a door with nothing left to explore. A man must guard certain corners of his mind not because he is hiding, but because he is maintaining his presence. The weight of mystery is felt in the spaces between words, in the thoughts he chooses not to express, in the restraint he exercises when he could easily pour himself out. It is not secrecy, it is discipline. It is the understanding that value lies not in overexposure, but in selective revelation. A man who controls what he reveals controls how he is perceived. A woman is not drawn to what is given too easily. She does not long for a man whose every thought is available on demand. She wants to feel the pull of something just beyond her reach, something that invites her to lean in, to look deeper, to crave more. The moment she feels there is nothing left to uncover, the connection begins to fade. As we move forward, let's take a look at how mystery, when used wisely, doesn't just enhance attraction, it strengthens the very foundation of a man's role in a relationship. The way a man maintains his inner world can make all the difference in how he is viewed, both as a partner and as a person. As we've explored, mystery plays a crucial role in maintaining attraction and respect within a relationship. Now, let's delve deeper into why a man's ability to hold back and not expose everything about himself is not just important, it is powerful. A man must understand the power of silence. Not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every emotion needs to be displayed. The man who knows when to hold back, when to let his presence speak louder than his words, when to let his actions create questions instead of providing explanations, is the man who remains unforgettable. He doesn't flood the room with noise, he doesn't scramble to be understood. Instead, he lets the weight of his presence command respect without unnecessary exposition. A woman is drawn to strength, but strength is not just physical, it is mental, emotional, and perhaps most importantly, the ability to carry something within without needing constant validation. A man who requires others to confirm his worth, who needs to be seen and understood at every turn, dilutes his own significance. The world doesn't reward overexposure, it rewards restraint. It rewards the man who does not feel the need to explain himself endlessly. The most powerful men in history understood this principle. They didn't seek to be known in their entirety. Instead, they let others wonder. They let others question. They let their presence, their decisions, and their undeniable sense of control speak for them. These men didn't drown the world in their thoughts. They revealed only what was necessary, only what added to their stature, only what deepened their authority. A man who is too open about his thoughts, his emotions, his every fleeting feeling does not create a deep connection. He creates familiarity, and familiarity, when unchecked, breeds complacency. What is too easily understood becomes ordinary, and what is ordinary becomes ignored. A man must resist the urge to explain himself excessively. He must understand that his power lies in what is left unsaid, just as much as in what is spoken. A woman does not need to know a man's every thought to feel close to him. She does not need constant verbal validation to feel secure. What she needs is the undeniable presence of a man who is in control of himself, a man who does not waver in his sense of self. She doesn't want to read him like every page in a book. Instead, she wants to unfold him slowly over time, piece by piece, always feeling that there is something more to discover. A man must know that mystery is not deception. It is the careful curation of his presence. It is the refusal to be entirely available, the discipline to let others wonder, to let them desire to understand. It's the balance between revealing just enough and leaving them craving more. As we move forward, let's explore how mystery, combined with self-mastery, shapes the way a man is perceived, and how it can create a lasting, powerful connection in his relationships. As we've seen, the balance between mystery and exposure is crucial to maintaining attraction. Now, let's take a closer look at how a man's ability to withhold and control his revelations shapes his impact and keeps him compelling. A man who speaks too much about himself, who reveals too quickly, and who lays his mind bare without discernment, forfeits his own intrigue. He is no longer a puzzle to be solved. He becomes a script already read. Attraction is built on contrast. It thrives in the space between knowing and not knowing. A man who leaves nothing to the imagination diminishes his own impact. He who rushes to explain himself at every turn suffocates the very force that makes him compelling. A woman does not long for a man who has no depth left to explore. She does not dream of a man whose every thought is predictable. What she craves is a man who keeps her engaged, who keeps her questioning, who keeps her drawn to him in ways she cannot fully explain. The power of mystery is not just in withholding, it is in controlled revelation. A man must be intentional with what he shares, when he shares it, and why he shares it. He must understand that his value lies not in his accessibility, but in the depth that remains unseen. He must resist the impulse to overexpose, to over-explain, and to prove himself through words rather than presence. A woman may ask questions, but she does not want every answer handed to her too soon. She wants to feel the slow build of connection, the steady unfolding of a man who is not desperate to be understood, but secure enough to let himself be discovered. The man who embraces this truth commands attention without seeking it, holds respect without demanding it, and remains unforgettable long after others have faded into the background. A woman looks to a man not just for love, but for certainty. She does not simply see him as he is. She sees him as a force that stands between her and the chaos of the world. The moment she begins to sense fragility in his presence, something deep within her shifts. She may still care for him, she may still offer comfort, but the foundation upon which desire is built begins to crack. The unshakable image she held of him starts to erode, and the idealization that once made him powerful in her eyes begins to slip away. A woman admires strength, not just in the way a man carries himself, but in the way he carries his burdens. She does not want to witness helplessness in the man she loves. She does not want to feel as though she must hold him together. The moment she senses that his struggles have consumed him, that his uncertainty outweighs his direction, she begins to lose the very feeling that once made her drawn to him. When a man reveals too much of his inner turmoil, when he lays out his deepest insecurities without caution, he forces a woman to see him as weak. Even if she offers reassurance, even if she tells him that she understands, a part of her instinctively pulls away. As we continue, we'll delve deeper into how this balance of strength and vulnerability plays out in real relationships, and how a man's ability to master his emotions can make all the difference in maintaining respect, admiration, and lasting attraction. As we've explored, a man's strength is not just about how he handles the world, it's about how he handles himself in the face of personal struggles. Now, let's delve into why the way a man manages his internal battles directly impacts the admiration and respect he commands in his relationship. A woman may never say it out loud, and she may not even fully recognize it within herself, but something shifts. She stops viewing him as the pillar she once believed him to be. Admiration is not unconditional. It is built on perception, on how a man carries himself in the face of adversity. A man who allows his struggles to redefine how he is seen by a woman will find himself losing the respect that once kept her close. She wants to feel safe with him, to feel that no matter what happens, he will not crumble under pressure. The moment she senses that he is lost, she begins to question whether she chose the right man to follow. A woman does not love blindly, she loves with instinct. She follows the force of a man's presence, the aura of his confidence, and the silent command of his direction. She does not want to feel as though she must guide him through his own darkness. She does not want to become the source of his stability. The moment she senses that he relies on her to hold himself together, she stops feeling the very attraction that made her look at him with admiration. A man who exposes his deepest weaknesses without restraint is unknowingly undermining his own place in a woman's heart. She may offer comfort, she may say she will never leave, but the way she looks at him will change. The way she respects him will shift. She does not want to feel as though she must protect him from himself. She does not want to feel as though she is now responsible for his strength. A woman thrives on certainty. She needs to feel that the man she is with is unwavering in his path. If he constantly questions himself, if he reveals that he does not know where he is going, if he lays bare the full extent of his fears, she begins to lose trust in his ability to lead. She may not walk away immediately, but something inside her will never see him the same way again. A man must carry his struggles with quiet strength. He must understand that not everything should be shared, and not every fear should be spoken aloud. The way he handles his burdens dictates how a woman sees him. If he allows his insecurities to take the forefront of his presence, he forces her to see him as unstable. If he constantly expresses his doubts, he erodes the very sense of security she once felt with him. A woman wants a man she can trust, not just with her heart, but with her belief in his ability to face the world. She does not want to be the one who holds him up when he should be the one holding her steady. The moment she senses that he is too fragile, too uncertain, too reliant on her validation, she begins to feel a subtle repulsion. She may not recognize it immediately, but the shift in how she sees him is inevitable. As we continue, we'll explore the delicate balance between vulnerability and strength, and how a man's emotional resilience can either fortify or weaken his relationship. The way he handles his own battles is the key to maintaining the respect, admiration, and trust that are essential for lasting attraction. As we've seen, a man's emotional resilience is key to maintaining the respect and admiration of his partner. Now, let's take a deeper look at how the dynamics of strength and vulnerability play out in relationships, and why a man must understand the impact of exposing too much of his internal struggles. A man who loses a woman's idealization rarely regains it. Once she sees him as weak, once she perceives him as lost, once she feels the weight of carrying him when he was supposed to be her protector, the relationship begins to shift in ways that can never be undone. She may still love him, but she will not admire him. She may stay, but she will not crave him. She may still care, but she will not follow. A man must not make his woman the place where he seeks validation for his struggle. She can be a source of comfort, but she should never become the foundation of his strength. The moment he relies on her to lift him up, he places her in a role that will eventually push her away. He must be the rock, the steady force, the presence that does not waver even when everything around him is uncertain. A woman's attraction is not built on logic alone. It is built on feeling, on the unshakable belief that the man she is with is strong enough to carry himself. She does not analyze her admiration. She simply feels it. She does not question why she respects him. She just does. But the moment he forces her to see his fragility too clearly, the moment he exposes his deepest fears without restraint, the feeling begins to fade. A man must master himself before he expects a woman to follow him. He must face his struggles without making them the center of his identity. He must endure his hardships without allowing them to define how he is seen. He must maintain the presence of certainty even when he feels uncertain inside. Because the moment he allows his struggles to consume him in front of her, the moment he seeks her reassurance more than he provides it, the dynamic shifts in a way that can never be undone. A woman does not want to feel like the stronger one in the relationship. She does not want to feel as though she must guide a man through his own emotions. She may offer love, she may offer support, but the moment she senses that she must become his emotional anchor, she begins to withdraw. She may not say it aloud, but her heart will begin to close, her admiration will begin to fade, and her passion will begin to cool. A man must be the pillar, not the burden. He must be the force of stability, not the source of uncertainty. A woman will love a man who faces struggles, but she will not love a man who is consumed by them. She will admire a man who endures hardship, but she will not admire a man who collapses under it. She will stand beside a man who fights his battles, but she will not stand behind a man who expects her to fight them for him. A man who wishes to be admired must guard the way he presents himself. He must recognize that how he handles his emotional struggles will determine how he is seen and respected. Strength is not just about overcoming challenges, it's about how a man handles them, and whether he invites others to witness his battles or keeps them to himself. As we continue, let's explore how a man can master the art of resilience and find the balance between openness and self-control, ensuring that he remains both strong and admirable in the eyes of his partner. As we've seen, a man's emotional resilience and self-control are key to maintaining respect and admiration in his relationship. Now, let's dive deeper into how a man's actions and execution play a pivotal role in the way he is perceived, especially when it comes to his ambitions and future. A man must understand that his struggles do not excuse weakness. His pain does not justify fragility. He must realize that the way he carries himself dictates how a woman perceives him. If he allows himself to become small in her eyes, if he lets his fears dictate his presence, if he reveals too much of his uncertainty without control, he risks losing the very thing that made her admire him in the first place. A woman will love deeply, but she will not love blindly. She will stand by a man who stands strong, but she will not stand behind a man who makes her feel unprotected. The moment she loses her admiration, the moment she sees him as weaker than she believed, the relationship is no longer the same. A man must never forget that a woman's idealization is not something given, it is something earned, and once it is lost, it is almost impossible to regain. A man must understand that his future is his responsibility. It is not something to be placed in the hands of another, not something to be endlessly debated, and not something to be shared before it has fully taken form. A man's ambitions are the foundation of his power, and if he speaks of them too soon, he risks draining them of their energy before they've even begun to manifest. The more a man discusses his dreams, the more he invites doubt, criticism, and resistance into a vision that is still taking shape. A woman does not want to hear about a man's plans, she wants to see them materialize. Words mean nothing without action. Promises create expectations, and when those expectations are unfulfilled, they breed disappointment. A man who speaks too much of his future without delivering on it slowly erodes the very respect he seeks to build. He becomes just another man with words, just another man with ideas, just another man who cannot turn potential into reality. A man who protects his ambitions does so not out of secrecy, but out of the knowledge that speaking too soon weakens the force of his conviction. The world does not reward the man who merely speaks, It rewards the man who executes. It rewards the man who moves in silence, who builds in the shadows, and who understands that the energy behind an idea must be protected until it is strong enough to stand on its own. A man who constantly talks about what he will do dissipates his own momentum. The more he shares his plans, the more he opens them up to interference, to doubt, to unnecessary commentary that does nothing but slow him down. A woman is drawn to certainty, not speculation. She does not admire a man for what he says he will do. She admires him for what he has done, for what he is doing, for the undeniable proof of his capability. The moment a man makes a habit of discussing his ambitions without action, he invites stagnation. He invites doubt and disrespect. A man's true power lies in what he does, not in what he says he will do. As we move forward, we will explore how a man can transform his vision into reality while maintaining the respect and admiration of those around him, particularly his partner, by focusing on execution and self-discipline. As we've already discussed, a man's ability to pursue his ambitions without seeking validation or approval is crucial for maintaining his strength and respect. Now, let's explore how trusting his path and remaining focused on his mission can set him apart, not just in the eyes of a woman, but in his own self-perception as a leader and achiever. A man who constantly explains his future risks appearing as someone who needs permission to pursue it. A woman does not want a man who seeks validation before he moves. She does not want a man who needs her approval to chase his purpose. What she wants is a man who follows his mission, with or without her understanding, with or without her agreement, with or without the need for reassurance. A man must carry the weight of his ambitions without asking anyone else to bear it with him. If he needs constant encouragement to stay the course, he proves that he is not yet ready to walk it. A man who is serious about his future does not waste energy convincing others of its worth. He does not seek applause before he has won. He does not need an audience before he has built something worth seeing. The moment he talks too much, he cheapens his own path. He allows others to weigh in on things they do not understand, to cast doubt on things they cannot envision. He risks letting their limitations shape his future with their own insecurities and doubts. The more he exposes his plans, the more he opens the door for their destruction before they have even begun. A woman may ask about a man's future, but what she truly seeks is confidence, not explanation. She does not need details. She needs certainty. She does not need a roadmap. She needs to feel that he knows where he is going. The moment a man starts over-explaining, starts looking for approval, starts depending on her belief before he has even proven himself, he weakens the very foundation of his authority. A man must trust his own direction more than he trusts the opinions of those around him. The path of a man is a solitary one. It is not something to be debated, not something to be laid out for discussion. It is something to be walked step by step with unwavering focus. The more a man seeks permission, the more he dilutes his own power. The more he reveals his plans before they are realized, the more he exposes himself to unnecessary obstacles. The moment a man allows another to influence his direction too soon, he risks losing sight of it entirely. A woman respects action more than intention. She does not care for a man's words if they do not align with his movements. She does not invest in promises. She invests in proof. The more a man delays execution, the more he invites doubt. The more he over-explains, the more he appears uncertain. A man must let his actions speak for themselves. He must move forward, with or without permission, with or without external validation, with or without the need to be understood. A man who guards his ambitions does so not out of fear, but out of wisdom. He understands that his strength lies in his ability to act decisively, to trust his path, and to move forward even when the world around him is uncertain. As we move forward, we will explore how a man can foster this sense of self-reliance and unshakable focus in his journey, and why it is essential for both his success and the health of his relationships. As we've explored, a man's strength is built on his ability to act decisively, move forward without seeking validation, and trust his own direction. Now, let's dive into how this wisdom and restraint in revealing his vision is crucial for maintaining his power and leadership. A man must understand that ideas are fragile in their early stages. He knows that momentum is easily lost, and the wrong words at the wrong time can destroy even the greatest of plans. He does not waste time convincing others of what he will become. He becomes it. He does not need approval before he makes his move. He moves, and the world adjusts accordingly. The more a man holds back from revealing his vision too soon, the more power he retains over its outcome. A woman does not want to be the architect of a man's future. She does not want to feel as though she must build his confidence before he can take action. She wants to witness his strength, not be the source of it. A man who constantly seeks validation for his ambitions makes himself a burden rather than a leader. The moment he places the weight of his decisions onto her shoulders, he reverses the very dynamic that makes her drawn to him. She wants to follow a man who knows where he is going, not guide a man who is unsure of himself. A man's future is his alone to shape. The more he externalizes it, the more he risks losing control over it. The world is filled with opinions, filled with distractions, filled with people who do not see what he sees. If he allows others to influence his vision before it has taken form, he weakens the very foundation upon which it is built. The moment he seeks too much feedback, he exposes himself to hesitation, confusion, and the slow erosion of his own conviction. A woman does not need a man to tell her what he will become. She needs to sense his direction without him needing to announce it. The man who constantly speaks of his plans without execution slowly loses credibility. The man who moves forward without hesitation, without the need to explain himself at every step, commands a level of respect that cannot be questioned. A man must protect his ambitions like a flame in the wind. He must shield them from unnecessary exposure. He must guard them from the opinions of those who do not share his vision. He must resist the urge to seek validation before he has proven himself. The moment he allows his direction to become a topic of debate, he invites uncertainty into something that should remain unshakable. A woman follows a man who is already moving, not a man who is waiting for permission to begin. She is drawn to the man who carries himself with certainty, not the man who needs her reassurance before he can step forward. The more a man speaks of his future without action, the less serious he appears. The more he guards his ambitions and lets his success reveal itself in time, the more undeniable his presence becomes. A man must build before he speaks. He must act before he explains, and he must achieve before he expects belief. As we continue, we will explore how a man can build a solid foundation for his ambitions, keeping them shielded from unnecessary opinions while letting his actions do the talking. It's in the execution, the quiet confidence, and the slow reveal that true power is found. As we've discussed, a man's true strength comes from action, self-mastery, and the quiet confidence that radiates from his ability to shape his destiny. Now, let's explore how his control over what he reveals and his commitment to building in silence solidify his power, both in his relationship and in life. A man's future is not a conversation. It is a reality that he must bring into existence. The more he focuses on movement instead of words, the more unstoppable he becomes. A man must understand that the foundation of his strength lies in his ability to protect what must be protected, restrain what must be restrained, and carry what must be carried in silence. He is not a creature of blind vulnerability, nor is he one who seeks validation for his struggles. He is the architect of his presence, the guardian of his ambition, the force that stands between chaos and order in his own life. A man must never forget that his value is not in what he reveals, but in what he masters. The moment he exposes too much of his fears, he risks losing the respect that once made him admirable. The moment he lays bare his insecurities without discipline, he invites doubt where certainty should stand. The moment he speaks of his future before it is realized, he dilutes the power of his own direction. A man who does not guard himself becomes a man who is slowly diminished in the eyes of those who once looked up to him. A woman does not love blindly, she loves with instinct. She does not admire words, she admires presence. She does not crave weakness disguised as honesty. She craves strength tempered by wisdom. She is drawn to the man who understands that power is not in reckless openness, but in controlled revelation. She respects the man who knows when to speak and when to remain silent, when to share and when to hold back, when to lead without seeking permission. A man's path is his alone. It is not meant to be debated before it is walked, not meant to be justified before it is proven, not meant to be placed in the hands of those who do not bear its burden. He must move forward without fear, without hesitation, without the need to be understood at every turn. He must build in silence, endure in silence, and let his actions speak louder than any words ever could. The moment a man masters himself, he masters his world. The moment he stops seeking validation, he commands respect. The moment he understands what must be hidden and what must be revealed, he becomes the force that cannot be ignored, the presence that cannot be shaken. The man who leads without question becomes not just the man a woman desires, but the man the world cannot deny. As we continue, let's explore how a man can maintain his unshakable presence and lead with quiet strength, understanding when to speak and when to act in silence to shape the future he is destined for. The power of self-mastery is key, not just for him, but for the relationships and worlds he influences.